Alright, so this is a video on the disappearance of Joggerst, who I've honestly questioned if this could be tied into John David Norman. But nonetheless, let's get a rundown. Earl, which he also went by Jay, but Earl was last seen in Arnold, Missouri on August 4th, 1972. He ran away from home with Geraldine Hurst, a friend from his school, and a 40-year-old male. They were driving a red convertible vehicle. Geraldine was found alive in California, but Earl was never heard from again. Few details are available in his case. I think it's important to get some background, which I was able to find some on Jay Joggerst. But there was a individual on Web Sleuths who had said, I went through grade school with Jay and remember him as always preferring to hang out with the girls, and even had his own Barbie dolls. We left that school in the middle of my 6th grade year, and I don't recall seeing him after that, but I've thought of him throughout the years and wondered how things turned out for him. Was it talked about in that day and age? I've never had much of a doubt that he was probably gay, and it makes me wonder if that didn't play a part in his disappearance. He was a sweet kid, but in the 60s, he would have been a target for a rough time from the guys. It makes me sad that he has never been found. To make it more additionally clear, Arnold, Missouri is actually a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. Now, looking at the information I have on Norman, which I do want to preface, the things that I show that are in this text format, some have a green highlighting. This I had obtained from a document from somebody I used to be friends with. And there has been things, and I've done my own digging, my own research, that I've found that have been wrong in this document. So I don't want anything that is taken from this document specifically to be taken fully as fact for that specific reason, but at the same time, some of those things could definitely be true. As how I say, some of it is 100% true, some of it is not as true because I've been able to prove something wrong, like a typo mistake, or something being more allegedly than it being in reality, or a tie being made somewhere where it's not exactly correct. But nonetheless, in 1973, as we know, that was when Norman would get rearrested, as he had picked up a 16-year-old boy in Independence, Missouri, while on a trip to California and then to Houston, Texas. When he was on his way back to Homewood, this was when he would pick up the boy who, quote-unquote, was named Lee, who was actually 16, despite the fact the document says he was 18. He was actually 16. This boy Lee would later be trafficked through Norman's cross-country program and go on a vacation in Europe with a man named Charles John Relling Jr., who was born in 1937. Relling Jr. was an Epic International financial supporter. Relling had multiple visits with Lee, the first one lasting many days, and between May and July 4th, 4 checks would be mailed to Epic International. The checks would total $662. Later, Relling and the youth would take a trip to Europe. Additionally, based on that source of information I have that's just out there, allegedly Norman had an associate from the St. Louis area named Mike Tucker, who was a collector of youth names, but I say there's been nothing I've been able to find to for sure back that up. Additionally, also in 1973, Norman would have 5 recruits. One of these was a man named Gary, but his home state was not mentioned anywhere. The other guys in Norman's newsletter, their names are mentioned, just this one guy was not. Additionally, the last piece of information tying Norman to Missouri would be that in 1975, he supposedly had a publication called Sex 2, but again, I haven't been able to find any other sort of information on this specific publication outside of this document, which is a really good rundown document. It's just that there's no other information for it. But nonetheless, this does make me question, could have Jay been trafficked into this network? Because, Geraldine was found alive in California. And additionally, he had multiple guys working for him, and he would just travel somewhere, as we see, pick up a youth, and then traffic them through his system, too. This just leads to a lot of questions about if this is a possibility in his case, because, I would say, just Geraldine being found, he was never found. Out in California, which also additionally Norman had connections out in California. specifically to the San Diego area. I can remember that was one of the primary areas he had connections down there, was in San Diego. Nonetheless, I'm curious what other people think on this, because for me, it's definitely made me think for over a year now since I had originally read into this.